Right, time to get back to the Premier League fixtures for the weekend and the Merseyside derby on Monday night. Let's hear from Sean Dyche and Jurgen Klopp.
This is not a time we wanted to have, or a time we are happy to be in, or whatever. But I think it's a time where we as well can show, if we want to show, that the club is really special, especially our supporters, and I'm really looking forward to that, to a derby atmosphere, to a proper atmosphere, and to a proper football game.
I know about the history of the game. I haven't witnessed it myself, but I will be doing shortly. Looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, the city comes together for a massive game, all of that. But at the end of the day, like I said, my key marker has always been performance level. So I'll be really focusing on the planning for that, and kind of parking the noise around it, because you have to. You know, that's our job, is to focus on the performance and not kind of get any of those affect our build-up and affect our planning. I want to keep the players' minds on the game and our performance. So I think that'll be key to it, from our point of view, of course.
What a way to end the Premier League weekend, as Jurgen Klopp describes it, a proper football match, this one, isn't it, Leanne? And we've been waiting for Liverpool to click all season, and it still hasn't happened consistently for them. Could this be a turning point?
I think it has to be, Jules. I think, you know, when you look at Jurgen Klopp in his press conferences, he looks like a man that's just kind of exasperated. He's like, what do I do here? Because he's doing the same things and he's got the results in previous years. They've got, more or less, Darwin Núñez has gone in there. I think he can go on to be a top Premier League striker, but he doesn't put the ball in the back of the net enough for me. He creates chances, but he needs to put the ball in the back of the net, same against Wolves. And I think it's more like, it's really interesting, because I don't know why Liverpool is so bad, because they still have good enough players. Thiago, Darwin Núñez, Mo Salah. And I spoke to, when we were on the show on Monday, the Kelly and Wrighty show, I said, nobody's talking enough about Mane. I know it's easy to say, but I think he was such a main catalyst for that team. It's impacted the rest of the players, I really do. Pressing from the front, so they just are nowhere near where they need to be. And against Wolves, it was pretty obvious. Wolves could have been 3 or 4 up in the first half.
Well, focusing on the attack then, as you've mentioned Mane, one of the boosts that Jurgen Klopp may have for this weekend, Darren, is Diogo Jota. He could be fit enough to start this game. How much of a difference will that make? Or is this actually a bigger problem than just them being able to score goals?
It's funny, actually, because I think the solution is both the things you've just said. I think it is a bigger problem, but I do think that the return of Jota could be good, because he's had half a season to almost rest, if you like, and recuperate. Last season, very, very emotionally expending for the players. They played in every game they could possibly play. It took a lot out of them, physically as well as mentally, possibly more than we've all believed, because they've not become bad players overnight, but they are unrecognisable from last season. And so I think somebody like Jota with that renewed energy could be quite good from the start, because I think over 20 of the last 40 games, Liverpool have conceded the first goal. And I think in this match, the first goal is going to be all important. If Everton get that first goal, then they're going to be able to play in a counter-attack. And Liverpool, as we've seen in many, many games this season, leave so much space in behind them. That's why teams like Brentford and Brighton and Wolves have been able to take advantage time and again. So I think Jota will be good for them, but my concern is that it's a bigger problem defensively in midfield, where they're very lightweight compared to Everton, got Onana and Doucouré. I think this is going to be a fascinating game.
What I look at as well is how many of the individuals are actually performing to their best of their ability. And you look all over. I mean, Matip last week against Wolves was so poor. They're making uncharacteristic mistakes. Yes. And I look at this team and I think individually, none of them are playing at their levels. Mo Salah last year was incredible. You know, Darwin Núñez came in, adapted. Yes, he got that red card, but at the same time, I just don't see any of the players performing to their max. Trent, Andy Robertson, they just don't look at the races. So I wasn't concerned for Liverpool, but up until the Wolves game, I started to think, something doesn't seem right here.
And it's been a long time that we've talked about a Merseyside derby where Everton actually come into it with a fair bit of confidence. How much will they have taken from last week's win, bringing it into this game?
I think they'll take a huge amount into this, because smiles are on faces again. The players have got a new chance now to improve their new manager. I like the manner of this goal. Players straining every sinew to get into the box, into the 6-yard box, and that's a characteristically good header from James Tarkowski. This is the guy who's generated respect from the moment he took the job. There's a simplicity about his message, and you know what you get from a Sean Dyche team.
Do you think they'll stay up now?
It's difficult, Jules, because I don't want to be that person that's negative, but it's one game. It's one game, you know. So I'm going to look at what they're going to do going forward. We know that Sean Dyche did the beep test in the first day. You know, people are saying, is that a good thing? Clearly it worked because
no one
I'm
wants
sure.
a beep test.
Oh, it's the worst. I hated doing it. Still now, even if
I've still got nightmares from school.
Yeah, it's like psychological. But I think that's what Sean Dyche wanted to test them psychologically. I think, you know, it must be so difficult from when the manager like Frank Lampard's watching that game because he must be thinking, what was it that I wasn't doing? Because they had a completely different. You know, just, I was always told, my dad always said, even if you're not at the races, at least compete. At least put yourself about. And a lot of these teams, you know, Leeds and Everton, they weren't putting themselves about. They were looking like they were playing inside themselves. So, you know, they're still in 18th place. So, you know, they still need to get more, but maybe Sean Dyche going in there. We know with Burnley, he kept them in the league as much as it's 7 years. And then they got relegated when they got rid of him. So he is the man, and I think he's the right man. But whether they'll stay up, still, I think it's yet to be determined.
OK, let's get to your predictions, Leanne. You've done them for all the fixtures. As we're talking about the Merseyside derby, let's see what you've gone for that one. You have gone for a Liverpool win, 2-1. Wow. But let's now focus on some of the matches that we haven't yet spoken about. So Leicester Spurs, another big game this weekend, and you've gone for a 2-2 draw. Why?
I think because, obviously, beginning of the season, Son scored his hat-trick when he came off the bench in that game. But I think just because Tottenham beat Manchester City doesn't mean they're going to go, you know, to King Power to get that win. So for me, and I think Leicester coming off that game against Villa, they seem to be scoring more goals. So I think it'll still be an exciting game. Yeah, but I think my predictions usually, Jules, are really good on this show.
Let's have a look at what you've gone for the massive one, the big one at Selhurst Park, as Palace take on Brighton.
According to who, the big one?
Big rivalry, this one. I'm nervous for it. You have gone for a Brighton win, though. They're in decent form, aren't they?
Yeah, I think Selhurst Park, you know, is a difficult place to go. Very, very loud place. But I think Brighton, De Zerbi, he's done a brilliant job since he's gone in there. I know a lot of people had question marks over him going in after Graham Potter, but I've gone for a Brighton win, 2-1 in that game.
Fulham against Forest. You've gone for a 3-1 victory to the home side. Do you agree with that, Darren?
Not necessarily. It depends because
Forest
look good. Yeah, Forest do look good.
Fulham at Craven Cottage.
But Fulham at Craven Cottage, a very good win in midweek in the FA Cup against Sunderland. I think confidence will continue. I can see that. Yeah, I'm going to go with the 3-1.
Thanks, Darren.
Well. Yeah.
OK, Southampton take on Wolves as well. Southampton bottom of the Premier League table, and Nathan Jones has been ruffling a few feathers with his press conferences of late, Leanne, and you think it's going to be yet another defeat for them. Could we see the end of the road for him?
Potentially. I mean, I think he obviously said in his press conference that he's gone against what he's been believing in, whether he's listening to the fans or what that means. But I think Wolves coming off, especially that win, you know, against Liverpool, and I think they've got top players at Wolves. So for me, it's difficult because Nathan Jones has gone in there and it's been Ralph Hasenhüttl who did a relatively OK job, but they just don't really have a style of play. So I'm going for a Wolves win. The
pressure's on, isn't it, Darren?
Yeah. I don't think they've got players good enough to stay in the Premier League. They're all young players learning the game. And they've got a manager who's made the step up, but he's not quite struck the right tone for the players at that level. Maybe they need a little bit more authority. But Lopetegui, experience, he's got classy players, cutting edge now in the side. Last 2 games, 2 good performances. I can see that being a win.
OK. Bournemouth against Newcastle. You have gone for a Newcastle win. They've been boosted by getting to the League Cup final. They'll be at Wembley in a couple of weeks' time, and you expect their form in the league to carry on as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've exceeded everyone's expectations far quicker this season. I don't think anybody expected Newcastle to be where they are yet. And they've done it, you know, and I think Eddie Howe, you've got to give him a lot of credit for that. Going against his former team, which will be probably an interesting, but I can't see Newcastle dropping points here.
Agree with that one?
Yeah, I do. They look good. Certainly at the back defensively. Neto's now the new captain at Bournemouth, but I don't think it's going to make any difference. Newcastle way too good.
Well, You've gone for a lot of goals. Every single game.
Can you
with
tell I'm a
goals
centre
in-
forward?
Every single game with goals in it there, Leanne. We hope that you're right, because that will certainly make for a very entertaining weekend. Thank you, both of you. Great company, as always, on a Friday evening. Enjoy the football this weekend. Loads of rivalries to look forward to in the Premier League as we reach the halfway point, and it all gets underway at the London Stadium at lunchtime tomorrow as West Ham welcome Graham Potter's Chelsea. See you later.